I mean, I grew up in a book household, bookshelves to the ceiling, and, in every room there was books, and that was me and my mom mostly. So it was just like, my mom also, when I was in high school, she started self-publishing her own books. So I was always aware of the power of books, and also that books were an aspirational thing. Like, it takes a lot to put a book together. My mom self-published books, so this was back in the 80s, so that was back when you had to, get in the car and drive it to the suburbs to the typesetter, and then get in the car and drive it to the suburbs to the graphic designer, and you had to, and she had loaded books into her car, and she would drive them from book festival to book festival and store to store. So books were like currency in my life, and I knew that, you'd see these old books on my mom's shelves, and Autobiography of Malcolm X, or Alice Walker, Toni Morrison, and you could, these books have power. And so I've always been a person stand-up comedy is not necessarily the goal to being an author. It's not something, but I also always thought, maybe one day, if I get to the right place, I could write a book. It was always something I wanted to do. For me, the library was like the school library. It was a lot of where I found myself a lot. And I think that when we were picking out schools for my daughter, I always looked at the school library as a place where you're going to be spending time here. And I want this to be a place that feels like you want to spend time here. I think so. I always would walk into the school library of these kindergartens and be like, I don't know that I would want to be in here, or go, yeah, this is it. So, and right now, my daughter, who before she went to kindergarten, she thought libraries were places where you had to take books back. She didn't get, why would you want to take them back? And now, because she's at a school library, she goes once a week, or maybe more times a week. I'm not actually there. But but now she's got a school library that she goes to regularly, and she has a relationship with a librarian, and there's this sort of relationship about how to recommend books and why you want to bring books back and sharing books. It creates a whole different experience, and that's the experience I had as a kid, being able to go into a room, the library, pull random books off shelves. This is the original internet, and just sort of pulling these off shelves and what's this about? And going into sections that you don't think, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be in here, and just pulling things off the shelves and really sitting on the floor. I have a lot of memories of sitting on the floor of school libraries and just reading, and getting able to get access to knowledge that I wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Again, I'm an old man, so this is before the internet. Librarians can choose what books to put in people's hands, and those books mean a lot. A kid like my daughter gets one library book a week. That's an important book. So, and as a parent who owns a lot of books and buys books for my kid, I will be talking about a book to another parent that they've never heard of that is essential to my house, And so I think librarians get to help build this inclusive world. And I know that librarians want this inclusive world because otherwise they wouldn't work in libraries. They would work in a library that only had one book in it. So the fact is they're surrounded by books. You want all the knowledge and you want to spread all the ideas. So librarians do this, have the power to expand people's perspective. And that's the number one thing we need to do right now.